Hi, everybody. I'm Aaron J. Waltke, currently the co-executive producer and co-head writer of Star Trek Prodigy, now on Netflix. Go check it out. And I am here to tell you that when I listen to my Star Trek comedy podcasts, I always listen to Maximum Fun's Greatest Generation and Greatest Trek.
My friends, the great experiment.
Prodigy.
Hidden Trek.
Would you look at that?
The greatest Trek. And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek. The greatest Trek.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Adam Pranica.
I'm Ben Harrison.
I was, I'll admit it, pretty down on not new Star Trek as a whole, but on one specific new Star Trek thing that happened recently.
Let's cut the shit.
And getting back into Prodigy was a nice reminder that there are folks that really care about new Star Trek and it being good, and it not being about mirror universe emperors all the time. You know?
There are people whose hearts are in the right place, even if they're not successfully. I'm trying to bust Aaron Waltke's chops here.
Yeah, even if they're not successful like Aaron Waltke, even if they're real jerks like Aaron Waltke, they can still make good Star Trek. The Hagemans, from whom I bought my Prodigy shirt directly from.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
Yeah. I exchanged money with them. So I guess I'm on the take, according to Matt Myra. Reviews bought and paid for.
Are you on the take, or did you buy a shirt from them and therefore they're on the take from you?
Who's taking who?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think about it. I feel like neither of us are getting very much from the exchange.
Oh, you got a nice t-shirt out of it, you know?
I'm clearly getting more from them because this is a high quality garment and our show is whatever it is we're doing here.
Probably they make more off of selling it directly to you than they would from the Prodigy t-shirt at StarTrek.com/store or whatever.
They're not having to share a cut of it. That's for sure. How are you doing, Ben? This is a return to children's programming for you.
Yeah.
Since becoming a father for the second time, I wonder if your perception of the show is changed in any way.
The two kids' TV shows that we have decided to open the aperture on slightly, we're really doing our best to keep screen time fairly limited, especially in early life for Daron. But there was a time when my wife was out of town and I was extremely sick, throw up and run to the bathroom for diarrhea sick. And I was watching him for 3 days by myself.
Do your kids understand yet? Are they at an age where they understand how sick daddy is a lot of the time?
I don't think it's really sunk in yet. I don't think that they know what's normal for other papas, you know.
They need to have a "What's wrong with daddy" button to hit, and then a special drop plays.
What's wrong with daddy?
So in that scenario, I was okay, we're gonna put on. I put on original Sesame Street because you can stream season 1, episode 1 of Sesame Street on the HBO app, and it's so fucking great.
Yeah, it is very hairy. It's
so hairy. It's so of its time in so many great ways, and I just love it so much. And then Bluey, which is very sweet and very benign, and I think they're both very well written shows. Something that an Aaron Waltke could aspire to when he approaches making a show that's for all ages.
It would seem as though, from an outsider like me, a lot of the children's programming out there is song focused, specifically earworm song focused.
Yeah.
Prodigy does not do that, but if you're out there in those children's programming streets, you're hearing a Baby Shark song, you're hearing Baby Shark song adjacent.
Yeah.
You're hearing remix Baby Shark song. How difficult is it for you to avoid those kind of earworms, which I imagine are out there?
It's tough. Coco Melon is the thing that is on YouTube that I think a lot of parents are like really starting to turn on, because it's there's like a cut like every 3 seconds or less. It's like hyper like optimized to just maintain the attention of small children in a way that is like, sure, like they're not bothering you, but also like their brain is leaking out their ear, kind of a thing.
Like, so much is said about like, oh, keep the screens out of our children's hands. It's changing their brains or whatever. No one's talking about the adult brains that are being changed by the children's programming of today.
Yeah. He really likes the Coco Melon version of the Wheels on the Bus song, which will occasionally come up in you set something else playing, and then the music app just kind of starts throwing things in there that it thinks might be similar. And somehow he found out about the Coco Melon version of Wheels on the Bus, to the exclusion of the Raffi version, which I find horrific. Like, the Raffi version is so fucking charming. It's got so many little kids singing along on it. The Coco Melon one is just like AI generated garbage.
The wheels on the bus go.
I won't brook any Raffi erasure in my household either.
Yeah, I mean, this is still years away for Daron in terms of his sensibilities, but interesting to see this show in that way. Like I look forward to showing it to him one day, you know? Even better, him showing it to me, be like, hey, Dad, you know about this Prodigy show? Get a load of this.
All right, Ben. Well, I mean, I guess the title of today's episode is a feeling I have getting back into this Star Trek program, don't you? Once more,
No.
into the breach of Star Trek Prodigy, starting with Season 2, Episode 1. It's called Into the Breach, Part 1.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
On my mark, go fast.
We open in an incredibly violent place, don't we?
You know, this is what they say, like, new Star Trek is just all like brain dead action. None of the heart, none of the spirit of exploration.
I was wondering how hard they were going to go in this scene, because like the Starship Troopers phaser practice scene becomes pretty gruesome at some point.
You see that guy's lid get flipped back.
Yeah. Some younger folks are just having a real hard time even getting a shot off against these drones. They seem to be struggling through this exercise.
Yeah, they don't understand why Murph is making them practice throw knives, and there's a very colorful illustration by Murph of how you can't push a button if you can't use your hand.
Murph would ace the Kobayashi Maru test, right?
Oh yeah, like wouldn't even have to reprogram it, I don't think.
He's eating all the apples and acing the test immediately when it's his turn.
I don't remember him having the like Dulcian everything can be extended arms in quite the same way.
I mean, since growing limbs, maybe there's been a moment between seasons where
he became a yoga master like Dulcim.
Yoga fire.
This is what happens. Like, you go off to college or whatever, you leave home as it is. You start experimenting with what your appendages can do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you never leave the dorm room.
All of a sudden, you're shooting ropes in the form of your arms and legs.
Yeah. Murph destroys these drones, and the simulation's shut down. And in walks the instructor, there to give Murph a message. It's from Admiral Janeway, and it's an invitation to join her. And Murph is absolutely psyched.
This is an Orion instructor who is not doing anything horny or sexual, because this is a kid's show, and that's illegal.
The only character who's wet in this scene is Murph.
Rok-Tahk is looking into Edward Larkin's research in a different part of the Academy or whatever this is.
Basically, I figured out how to stop tribbles from multiplying.
Because this isn't Starfleet Academy, right? They're like cadets that are trying to get into the Academy.
That is my understanding as well.
It's like pre-Academy. I can still get you pregnant.
I mean, daycare?
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, if the Academy is like the West Point or like the, Air Force Academy of Starfleet, this is like high school. Some kind of like military high school?
What's a Montessori school? Is this a Montessori school?
No, that's like play-based learning and like walking around with your hands behind your back so you can observe things in nature.
Oh, is that not what this school is like to you?
Listen, Adam, I went to a Montessori school. I think I know what I'm talking about.
I didn't even need to ask. You really have that Montessori air about you.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, how surprised were you when you found out Ben went to Montessori school?
You know how there's like a lie detector test, like there's a little arm that does a little waveform when the person's feeling a kind of way?
Mm-hmm.
My scribble actually flatlined completely when you disclosed that to me.
Jankum Pog gets the call as well after like following a couple of other cadets down a hallway with his arms full of rusty metal components.
Jankum Pog do 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 Jankum Pog do 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 Jankum Pog do 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 Jankum Pog. Is that a thing?
I think that's I think we can sell this.
I think it's important that this children's show has an earworm.
Yeah.
And that's going to be it.
I really like it. I really, really like it. I think we could make a lot of money with this.
Rob knows what he has to do.
Rob, if you don't mind, just isolate what Adam just did. Set a little bit of like AI, like it has to be AI generated music. You can't actually make real music under it, but do some AI generated music under it, loop it 10 hours, and then also have some AI animation of like cursed 3D babies crawling around, and we'll upload that to YouTube and just watch the money roll in.
Yes, sir. Of course, sir. All in a day's work, sir. Right away, sir.
That's a great idea. Is that how you make money on YouTube? You make a 10-hour loop?
Yeah. And you really do. Like, this was like 10 years ago. I did a couple of shoots like for like YouTube was the client. It was like a marketing thing for YouTube, and like the guy from the YouTube marketing department was telling me about how like the #1 video on YouTube is literally a Wheels on the Bus animation that just goes on forever. And like parents just park their kids in front of it.
All right. I mean, we didn't make the rules, Ben. This isn't our fault.
Yeah.
You know?
That's just what it is.
That is now your chair, Captain.
It's a new ship.
They're all getting the call. Zero gets the call. I mean, this isn't like the Boothby tree that Zero's sitting under, but it's kind of the moral equivalent of the Boothby tree that Zero's sitting under, just kind of like watching corporeals fall in love and grope on each other and stuff.
Hey, Zero. How's the peeping? How's the peeping, Zero? How's the peeping?
Tommy.
What's happening here is that everyone is getting this message from Janeway, right? Except for Doll. And that's because Doll has cut class to watch ships fly around outside of the Academy building. This is an activity that I think I would be doing.
Oh, yeah.
If I were feeling a little cooped up. Watching the flights, that would be really fun.
This is some programming that I think Daron and you could both enjoy equally, which is we'll put on a YouTube video of airplanes taking off and landing for 10 hours.
Have you watched that LAX YouTube channel? There's a professional outfit that films takeoffs and landings at LAX every day from the top of a parking garage. You can watch it every day. It's a new episode.
I'll have to look for that. Yeah, so they're all being summoned by Janeway Actual. Admiral Janeway has recorded a video message summoning them to go on a mission with her in space.
In case they didn't get the message, they look up in the sky and there's like a bat signal, but instead of the bat symbol, it's just like season 1 Voyager Janeway hair.
Calzone bun Janeway. Yeah. Just the call to adventure would be enough, but she also sweetens the pot by reminding them that this will be excellent for their Academy applications.
And so the prepubescent X-Men are assembled, Ben.
Yeah, and it's clear that they kind of haven't seen each other a lot lately.
Yeah.
We get a lot of like reminders of who characters are, what they can do. You know, we've gotten a reminder that that Zero can read minds. You know, Jankum tells us about how he's trying to be a polite guy these days.
The Jankum thing is so interesting to me because, like, engineers in Star Trek seem to fall into two buckets, right? You're either a Geordi, which is sort of a sexual deviant.
Nothing like that happened. It was a professional collaboration.
Great engineer. Or a Scotty, who is kind of a dope engineer,
right,
for as good as he is, but like well respected. The kind of guy who hits his head on a low ceiling.
I know this ship like the back of my hand.
And Jankum more of a Scotty type is what I'm saying.
I think that's absolutely fair. And he has relatively fewer fingers than the rest of the characters to prove it.
He's got way more in common than Scotty until he goes through puberty, at which point he will become a lot more like Geordi. In every engineer, there is a Geordi, a Scotty, and a Wolf.
And they've got to get to the other side of a stream without... Sorry, I got confused there. I was just saying all that to say that I thought that this episode did a really nice job getting us back up to speed with everything without it feeling like very heavyweight exposition. Like, we didn't get the last time on Star Trek Prodigy, and that had me a little stressed out at the beginning because, I mean, it's not our fault that this is true, but it's been a long time since I've watched Prodigy.
Right. It's Aaron Waltke's fault.
And I thought that they did a great job just, like, resetting everything about who this cast is and also reminding us that one of our favorite Prodigy team members is not here.
You know, in saying that, Ben, I wonder, do you think the first season of this show is necessary at this point? I think you could get into this show right here.
You're saying like in the I want to get into Star Trek, where should I start question context?
Well, no, I mean, is it crucial to understand these characters in season 2, episode 1 by having watched season 1? Or do you feel like you can get on their level pretty fast and jump right in for season 2, episode 1?
I think what I'm saying is that this is the rare show that I think can do both and does both well.
Yeah.
We're reminded that Gwyn went off to become sort of a delegate to the people of Solemn, her homeworld that she's never visited before, so that they don't have a really bad time with First Contact when it comes in several decades.
I just can't get over that name.
The
people of Solemn do their solemn business. They do their solemn work, their solemn play, their solemn lovemaking. It sounds like very joyless in a way that is unintentional, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Gwyn's dad seemed like, I mean, he was an evil guy, but he knew how to have fun, you know?
He fucked. Yeah, absolutely. There's this disparity between the students here and Gwyn over there. The implication is that she's over there doing princess stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, the rest of the kids are over here doing student stuff. She's got to have it way better than them, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking.
A great big shuttlecraft from the Voyager sets down, and out steps Dr. Mark, of all people.
Oh, hi, Mark.
They were expecting Janeway. They got Dr. Mark.
Is this the part of the movie where they throw the spoons at the screen, or is that a different character? It's a different character, isn't it?
He explains that, like, yeah, you know, Janeway's a busy lady. She sent me down here to get you. You're going on an important mission, and you know, you loved your hologram on the Protostar, so you're probably gonna fall in love with me too. What with my fun lovingness.
A really interesting moment because of the kids' relationship to holograms, right? There's just a hot moment where there's a little bit of fear and backup to like, whoa, hologram, hologram danger. But the doctor makes it clear that he's a good hologram, and he's more of the type of holo that writes books and falls in love with the wrong woman, and instead of the type that tries to murder them.
Yeah, he's one of the good ones.
In the case of the last holo that they might have known.
We got on board, and he puts them together for their first ever McLaughlin group of the season.
Issue 1.
And explains that they're going to go check out this wormhole that was created when the Protostar went self-destruct.
Space butthole observation is the first mission.
Yeah, observe and report.
The first mission of every pre-academy cadet is to study the space butthole. Specifically, the same hole that was created when they blew up the Protostar. This has got to hit home for them, right? They did this. They made this mess.
It's really their hole.
It is.
You know, I said on the last episode of this very show, like, so much of American media is about absolutely destroying a hole these days.
I remember.
Maybe that's what this season is too.
Doesn't matter the age to Benjamin R. Harrison.
It's a theory I'm starting to really, work out for all that's implied by it.
What's weird about this wormhole is that they've picked up an SOS message from Chakotay from the future. So, like, several strange things about the message. Huh. So what's going to be the ride to the wormhole, Ben? It's the Voyager-A. And the A stands for ass because this ship has an absolute dump truck behind the saucer section.
It really does.
This fly around has to take like a more eccentric circle, like around, like to make its way around the back. Holy moly.
Oh man, I've listened to a lot of E40 songs. I don't think he's ever described going around a butt as having an eccentric circle.
Your ass is right. I ain't trying to let that pass me tonight.
It was very, very well worded by you. Yeah, so this is a Lamar-class science vessel, and while the rest of Starfleet is kind of all hands on deck doing the Romulan evacuation, this special new ship is going to be captained by Admiral Janeway to go observe hole.
We got a Nova Squadron aboard, Ben, and they represent the snooty rich kids at the summer camp across the lake from our students. And like the hate between them is already very apparent, it seems.
They think we don't belong here.
Jankum picked up on that.
So the bridge crew is here too. You might be familiar with them from the first season. We got Dr. Noam and the number 1, Tysus.
As per usual, they are total asswipes to the Prodigies. And
yeah, they drive the welcome wagon pretty fast past them on the way to the bridge, don't they?
Yeah, Janeway kind of like says hi-bye and, doesn't say anything to her underlings who are extremely disrespectful to these kids. And away they go to the bridge, and we kind of follow their story for a little while. They go up there and pull out a space dock, and we are off to the races.
I gotta believe the reason we don't luxuriate in the pull out of space dock scene that legally we're obligated to as viewers of Star Trek. The reason the scene isn't 8 minutes long is because the episode itself is 27 minutes long, 3 minutes of which are theme.
Yeah, I don't think they had time for it, but
give us the Waltke cut. I want to see that long drive out.
I want to get a little worked up before we jump to warp, It's like going in dry like this just felt terrible. Didn't do anything for me.
We need to score a lot of laps fast.
Licensed businessman.
Hey!
Cheaters don't deserve Nausicaan Latinum.
As they're underway, the Prodigiers are dropped off at all their separate departments, right? First, Jankum Pog gets dropped off at engineering, and then Murph at the holodeck for security training. Zero gets dropped off in 6 Bay, Rok-Tahk in cetacean ops, and finally Dal and Doc are left alone in this turbo lift.
I wanted there to be a Rok-Tahk steps into the glass tunnel in cetacean ops, and immediately the floor cracks and she goes right through it joke.
A fat joke, Ben?
No, shut it down.
A rock joke. Like,
okay.
It's clearly surrounded by glass on all sides, and I wanted the rockness against the glass to crack the glass.
I'm tapping the side of my head in a very meme-like way, Ben. I get it now.
I also wanted to see the cetaceans.
Yeah,
Rok-Tahk maybe could be fine underwater? Does Rok-Tahk have lungs?
Does Rok-Tahk sink to the bottom?
Yeah, like I have questions.
Yeah, I would like to know more about this. There's just no time.
Dal is like wondering, like, oh man, like everybody else got such cool assignments and I'm on command track, so probably that means I'll be hanging out on the bridge doing a lot of stuff with Janeway. Nope.
Not a chance.
He is going to a boring room full of boring books to read Temporal Mechanics 101. A bell that gets rung over and over again is that he has not read Temporal Mechanics 101.
Temporal Mechanics. Just what I wanted.
I think what's so interesting about Dal's conflict with his circumstances is that he's kind of right. Like, it's got to be so hard to go from being the captain of a ship and commanding a crew and calling all your own shots and then being dragged back to the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
In order to do it in a way deemed correct by those that extend those privileges, you know? It's tough.
It is tough. And he doesn't have the benefit of having seen lots of Starfleet captains who are all like erudite and well-read and have lots of like archaeology samples on the shelves behind them. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't know about that stuff. He doesn't know that all this book learning is going to make him a cooler Star Trek captain later.
It's going to make him a better lawyer. That's for sure.
We get to see the like 10 forward equivalent on this ship. Nice layout, nice big windows. Looks like a fun hang in there. And Dal is he's scheming. He's wanting there to be a bigger adventure to this than just a very, very rote training cruise. And he's going in a lot of directions, like suspicious that Janeway might not be telling them everything. It's like, yeah, duh. Like, we're like the lowest people on the ship's org chart. Why would the captain tell us everything?
In both dialogue and in composition, Dal is left behind here. Because one by one, they've stated their reasons for like doing this by the book instead of the Dal way. As they're all sitting together one by one, has to go back to work or whatever. And this leaves Dal alone.
Alone with this thought that we've seen a lot of Star Trek captains have at a certain point of like, God, this used to be cool. This used to be an adventure. We used to be heroes. Now what the fuck are we? And God, so young to be going through his mid-captain crisis. But here we are.
Don't you miss having our own ship?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
We used to explore new worlds.
I've come to talk with you again.
Be on the bridge.
And the vision.
Make the big move.
That was planted in my brain.
We used to be heroes.
Still remains.
And we need all these people to observe a whole.
When in Montessori school did you begin your coursework in this, Ben? Like as soon as you got there, like during orientation?
Yeah. Once I had the difference between capital and lowercase letters mastered, they just moved me right into this. Nobody wants this to turn into a whole thing, so he calls maybe the only friend he has in the world, man. It's Gwyn.
I mean, a friend he's also sweet on, too, so that's an aspect of this conversation.
Yeah. She is still traveling toward Solus. Solum?
Solemn.
She hasn't made it there yet. She hasn't done her important duty to both please their booty and get them ready for first contact with the Federation. A light joke about how, like, boy, that sounds shitty. Well, anyways, listen to my problems now. And he tells her about how bored he is, and she actually gives him a little explanation of the time paradox thing that she's dealing with, because presumably her efforts will forestall the creation of the initiative that sent her father back in time in the first place.
Yeah, the way she explains it, it sounds pretty clean.
Yeah. No paradox.
Is Quantum Mechanics 101 like a leaflet? Because the way she puts it, it sounds like an easy A.
Yeah, let's Let's sign up for that one.
Dahl does that thing, though, where he tries to steer the conversation in the direction of, what are we officially, do you think? And it's a very inopportune time for the screen to freeze at that moment, and he never gets an answer.
He seemed like almost relieved that the screen had frozen, but I was like, man, if it depends on where it froze, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you better hope to fucking God it froze before you ask the question.
So Zero and Mark are having a hang and watching this new Bolian mother with her baby and talking about these corporeal experiences that neither of them will ever know the pleasures of. And interesting, like, grass is always greener conversation. And like a storyline that they explored a lot with the EMH and Voyager. So I thought it was interesting to hear from him, like passing some of what he learned through many hard episodes that we saw onto a younger character that's going through a similar thing.
It's interesting to consider how different the Doctor's philosophy is about this sort of thing is from Data's,
Yeah.
Because the Doctor's advice to Zero is basically, don't try to be a feeling Medusan, just be a Medusan and let history decide. Like, don't even try to get on their level. Just like have your own lived in experience and be satisfied with that. Like, that is not a Data philosophy of life at all. But the Doctor has found peace this way.
Yeah.
In a way that seems useful to a younger person like Zero.
Well, he gets called up by Janeway and has to leave. And Zero, having heard a slip up in Dr. Mark's transmission to Janeway, runs right to Dahl and is like, guess what? There's a secret third shuttle bay on this ship. You were right. There's something afoot. And Janeway didn't tell us, people who really don't deserve to be told anything about it.
Yeah, the idea that something is kept from children is seen as a conspiracy in a way that's just adults talking to other adults. I love that.
So they sneak off, and on their way to find this third shuttle bay, Jankum Pog catches on to the fact that they're up to some shit. Jankum Pog wants to get in on the action.
You look like you're up to no good. Jacob wants in.
Pretty soon, Rok-Tahk and Murph have joined them. They're just attracted to drama like flies to shit.
She tries to talk them out of it, right? Rok-Tahk really needs to be tipped over into this plan.
I mean, Rok-Tahk doesn't go. And I couldn't tell if that was like because Rok-Tahk won't be able to go into the Jefferies tube, or because Rok-Tahk really does feel like this is going to ruin their opportunity to do a cool thing by being in Starfleet.
I also sympathize with the kids in listening to Rok-Tahk say anything. I think as soon as that mouth opens and starts speaking, you're grossed out and repulsed.
What Jefferies tube can I climb into to get away from that?
Yeah. I mean, Murph is all in. You don't even have to complete the question before Murph is in that tube.
Right. And like, what I kept wondering was, does Rok-Tahk not want to do this and not go with them because that was what they needed for a story reason, or because like the way they hide from everyone wouldn't work for Rok-Tahk later,
I got a crazy question about Murph. Is Murph's nonverbalness a reason that he could be evil or not into anything and just like kind of along for the ride as a chaos agent?
He's a chaotic neutral character.
Yeah. Like he's portrayed as fun chaos agent for the purposes of the storytelling here.
Yeah.
But I think you could look at him and go like, what's really going on with Murph?
I mean, we had that conversation a lot about Data in our TNG coverage days. And like Data, I also really want to know what the like physical strength ramifications of Murph are. And like, I mean, we've seen him like eat explosives and, burp a little bit of smoke or whatever. Like, What can Murph do? What can't Murph do? How dangerous is Murph?
What would you say you do here?
Like, we cut over to Murph's quarters and we see his answering machine, and it's like,
you have 2,000 new messages from the Daystrom Institute.
Like, they really want him in there, I think.
Dr. Maddox is like, oh, also, I'm sorry I didn't add this to the end of my last call, but, like, if you got shot with, like, a bullet and not a phaser, what would that do? All right, give me a call back. I think you've got the number by now.
Yeah, he's just dodging their calls. That's Murph's unseen storyline. That's why he's so willing to go to the Jefferies tube. It's one more place he won't be found.
Well, they make it to this secret third shuttle bay, and it appears to be empty, and they're very disappointed, and they're getting ready to leave, and Dal goes ahead and kicks what I'm going to go ahead and assume is a self-stealing stem bolt, and it lands on top of something invisible. There's a cloak ship in here with them. And no sooner are they realizing this than they need to hide on the ceiling because Janeway and Dr. Gnome and Tysus and Dr. Mark are coming into the shuttle bay to conspire about the secret mission that they haven't told the little children about.
Admiral Jellicoe is involved, and this ship is called the Infinity, and there's a rescue mission to get Chakotay, and our kids are in the rafters, Ben. They're Murph dropping in a couple of different ways. One, because they're eavesdropping and Murph is involved, and another in that they're kind of holding Murph in some fingers, and through those fingers, pieces of Murph are dripping onto the floor.
Yeah.
Ben, have you ever found a puddle on the floor of a room and not looked up to see if the source of that puddle was on the ceiling?
You know, maybe it works differently on Andor. It's a frozen planet, so maybe that's not, the obvious thing.
It's a frozen planet. It's a bug planet.
Yeah, like,
can Andorians not move their neck up like to look above them? Is that part of it?
It's like Vincent D'Onofrio holding a pig up to look at the night sky,
That's this show's Darmok and Jalad right there. That's what you just did. I want to see the concert T-shirts sold on our Reddit page for that one, Ben.
Oh man, it'd be nice if somebody sold a T-shirt on our Reddit page that actually benefited us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not caught, but it is in fact the case that something is afoot. This invisible shuttle, illegal in the Federation, has been brought aboard so that this small group of bridge officers can mount a covert rescue operation of Chakotay in the future.
Did you get the sense that this shuttle was not Starfleet Federation spec, that this was something that they borrowed from another race?
It really looked not Federation, but the way Jankum Pog was talking about it made it sound like it was a design and spec that he was very familiar with.
Federation support courier, experimental. And is that a temporal shield emitter? What?
Yeah, maybe we'll find out in part 2. But as for part 1, Ben, you like this episode?
She'll always bring it home.
Yeah, I like this episode. Felt good to get back with the gang, and what a different vibe in the way this season starts than the way season 1 starts. And I mean, I had a lot of fun with the beginning of season 1, but it felt like it took a long time for it to start feeling like a Star Trek show to me. And I think that was, in retrospect, very intentional on the part of the show's creators. But this just feels like Trek right off the bat. And like in the wake of our coverage of the Section 31 movie, I think it feels particularly cozy to get back into an adventure that's about exploring and going to strange places and And like the spirit of adventure is kind of what's driving these kids. Like they're kind of sneaking around on the ship because they're so fucking curious. And it made me think a little bit more about Section 31 and what an incurious movie that was just in general. So, not to like beat a dead horse or anything, but this felt nice. This felt right, you know?
Yeah, it did to me too. Nice to be back in this world. And like for it being a children's show, I am not bored by it in the way that it's like, it has to speak down to little kid types or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It does not seem like a show that is contorting itself for a particular audience outside of making its main characters kids,
Totally.
It feels legit in most other ways. So yeah, glad to be back here.
Well, do you want to see if there's anything back in the Priority 1 inbox?
Yeah, let's see if we've got some adult-sized P1 messages or not.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Ben, we got a Priority 1 message here from Chief Science Officer Lorian, and it is to Ben and Adam.
Okay.
Here's that message. Transmitting this P1 with its well-earned scarves. First, thank you and your back catalog for being my safe space in a scary fall of 2024 to 2028. I can't describe how deeply you're needed.
Oh.
And second, celebrating the arrival of my first new crew member, the boy.
The boy?
Sometime in 2025. He's training on Trek series rewatches and on your great shows. Third, names? Question?
Oh. Is Chief Science Officer Lorian asking us to name a child that has yet to be born?
It would seem that way, Ben.
This is an awesome power. Should we use it for good or evil?
I think we should use it for laughs.
Okay.
Which can be both.
Kevin is always going to be at the top of my Star Trek baby name list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kevin's a good one. So is Cybok.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cybok's a good one.
Alexander, if you don't plan on parenting that well in a Star Trek context.
Lol, same reason.
Biff, if you want like a natural Jaeger running around the house.
I like that one a lot. Yeah.
I'm just like looking around my office at things.
You're doing the Peter Griffin joke from that early season of Family Guy when he tries to make up an alias, but he ends up using his real name based on stuff he sees in the lunchroom.
I had a script in college where a character needed to come up with a fake name, and when they looked around, the only things they could see were like a Mrs. Doubtfire poster, a Mrs. Doubtfire DVD case, Mrs. Doubtfire like crew jacket.
Okay, so I think what we're agreeing on here is Mrs. Doubtfire would be a great name here.
Hello!
Chief Science Officer Lorian.
Yeah, or Moopsie. Our next Priority 1 message is from Justin, and it's to Natalie, and it says, I can't wait to go on the greatest trek with you and spend the rest of our lives together. I promise I love you more than magic. Nat forever, Trip forever.
About that.
A declaration of love.
It could just be that the name of our show is about the lives that we spend together, Ben.
I guess so.
That's what this is about. Yeah.
I guess the greatest ones were the treks we made along the way.
It's true. Hey, that's really nice. Really nice message from Justin and Natalie.
If you'd like to get a really nice message here on The Greatest Trek, head to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron and set one up today. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Ben.
What's that?
What's that?
Yeah, I'm contracting. I'm trying to get a little more efficient with how we do the show.
You're cutting whole minutes off of our show.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself a
Barnus Breaks. Barnus Breaks. characters have all gotten a glow up of one kind or another. You know, like Zero's in that like very, very sleek, engineered version of the suit after having been in a very cobbled together, improvised technology suit for most of season 1. Jankum Pog's still a very scratched up, like a lot of patina on his arm, portrayed very funnily by a very funny man, Jason Mantzoukas. Clearly, like just under the crisp uniform, there's still a lot of rough edges to the character.
I think it's clear between Jankum Pog and Rok-Tahk that there are no available orthodontists or dentists in this part of the region for them. I mean, we have an interaction with Gnome. Gnome, also a Tuskman, has perfectly white and unbroken tusks, unlike Jankum Pog. What's going on there?
Dude, I wish I could tell you. What the fuck, Jankum Pog?
Mine's going to be Murph. Murph the lube man. I think Murph has a choice whether or not to stay contiguous in someone's hands. It's clear he has the choice to use his body for all sorts of like shields or absorption or whatever. He chooses to drip onto that floor, thus supporting our chaos agent theory of Murph here.
Yeah. Question. Does Commander Tysus, when he went down, like put his fingers in the goo, does he bring it up and give it a little like a little taste to see what it is?
A little.
Is he like rubbing it on his gums?
Nothing.
Misophones can't hate that sound, right? Because that's not eating, that's hair.
That's getting rid of hair. Everybody likes the sound of hair in mouth.
Yeah, weird behavior by Tysus, both in the putting of Murph in his mouth and the not looking up toward the ceiling to where a leak might be.
Do you think Murph can like see inside of Tysus now?
Episode 2 is just the inner space movie of Star Trek episodes where Murph's inside Tysus. Do not attempt to enter the heart. You remember that movie? That was a fun movie. Scary movie.
It's Murph as Lemmy Winks inside of Tysus.
Yeah.
How about that?
You know that's an idea they batted around in the room. Maybe that's coming.
Yeah. Don't chicken out, Hageman Brothers. Do a Lemmy Winks.
The final segment on all episodes of Greatest Trek is the reading of a warning bois. This of course is the recognition of an FOD out in the world, sharing our business in order to accumulate new viewers of the kind that we need, not the kind that wouldn't like what we do.
Yeah,
the kind that very specifically would.
We like it when your recommendation of our show filters out the kind of people that would not care for this.
And for that, Ben's got one teed up and ready to go here.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
I actually want to use this segment of Warning Boss to talk about the Star Trek Podcrawl, which just finished a couple of weeks ago as of the release of this episode. But we got some really nice, kind words spoken about us on a lot of those episodes in the Star Trek Podcrawl. Of course, we did this with 6 other great Star Trek podcasts, and we were raising money for science education. And also, as part of those, we had each podcast interview the podcasters who were going to be taking over the next episode of the Podcrawl. And so we met some folks we'd always wanted to meet, and also, they all got to meet each other. And I just I couldn't be more pleased with how the Podcrawl went overall. And those little segments were really nice, and some of those shows said really nice things about us. So I really encourage everyone to listen to all of the episodes of the Pod Crawl. Maybe if you've got like a road trip coming up or something.
Yeah.
And see if you like a Star Trek podcast or two in there, and throw them a subscribe. And if you've got $10, donate to science education, StarTrekPodCrawl.com.
Yeah, it was really neat to meet 6 other Star Trek podcast hosts, one of which is now a mortal enemy. But the rest of them are good people. I think they know who they are.
Like that strip club that you saw that one time.
All right, with that, we're going to throw the keys to the show to Rob, who's our producer-editor today.
Rob will tell you a little bit about what's happening on next week's episode of this show. Take it away, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica. It's produced by Wynde Priddy, and this week's episode was edited by Rob Adler. Ben and Adam will be back next week with a review of Battlestar Galactica Season 2, Episode... Just kidding, it's Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, Episode 2. It's called Into the Breach, Part 2, wherein Gwyn runs into a familiar foe on the planet Solum, while Janeway reveals the true stakes of their mission. As always, we want to say thanks to all the Max Fun members. If you want to support the podcast with a small monthly gift, you can set up a membership at MaximumFun.org/join, and you'll get instant access to a ton of great bonus content. Thank you to Nick Ditmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusier, who composed the theme music. Thanks to the card daddy, Bill Tilley, who I co-run the @GreatestTrek social media pages with. Be sure to follow those accounts and use #GreatestTrek when you post about the show. We're also on YouTube @GreatestTrek, so make sure you're subscribed over there because we actually just uploaded a 10-hour Jankum Pog video. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows
supported
directly
by you.